Hello. So I wanted to make this video partly as a reminder for myself next time I have to sort this out. Scrapy, installing Scrapy on a Raspberry Pi, and why do it? um, I've got it down here and it just sits here running 24/7 and there's no noise, low power consumption, yeah, and it's cheap. So that's why, and I'm going to schedule some cron jobs to run a scraper every day. So Scrapy, pip shows Scrapy, and yeah, it showed that I had version 2.41 installed, and yeah, it gave me all this. Why did I run that? I, I ran it because when I went to run my spider for the first time that I cloned from GitHub, I got this. No module found, module not found error. So then I did pip install Scrapy. If you look at the Scrapy notes, they actually say to use capital S. Not that that really makes any difference. So I did that, run it again, Scrapy not found. So then I thought, well, rather than jeopardize the whole system, I'll experiment within a virtual environment. So then yeah, then I created a virtual environment, and then I attempted to, there you can see I cloned my current Scrapy project from GitHub. So once I'd done source activate in my virtual environment, a directory called scrape, then I tried to do pip install Scrapy, and I got this warning. That was just a one-off warning, but this is where the problem started. Error, command errored out with exit status 1, and I started getting a succession of these errors, and ultimately I went around in circles a couple of times, and pip install Scrapy, tried it again, took several minutes, and then ended up with these same errors. And you can see it kept trying to install LXML and it kept failing and then going back and looking for the previous version. Once it kept on doing that, and I thought I'd be here forever, so I quit that. And yeah, there we go. Operation cancelled by user. That's me. And yeah, then all these long errors, and I just read up here a bit, and I went onto the Googler and sudo apt-get install libxml and libxslt and python dev, installed those. 5 newly installed, added some Raspberry and mirrors, still got the same problem. So again, started going around in circles really. So yeah, then all this red writing is actually an error about Rust. Now I don't really know much about Rust, but it said debug assistance, and then it said something about cryptography. So what I did was, yeah, pip install. What again? I googled this error, and it said something about failed to build cryptography. So then I went and did upgraded pip, and then I did pip install cryptography. So all the while it just feels like you're making slow progress, and just one thing at a time, you're gradually removing. There we go. PEP 517 error. So I had an error installing cryptography. So I knew that I needed to install cryptography, so then I had to go back and Google again. So then I installed libssl-dev, libffi-dev, and Python 3 dev and cargo. I think cargo was actually the important one there. Yeah, you can see Rust GDB. I think there's some Rust compiler actually. So once all that had done, done, I started getting some successful install messages and collected packages for cryptography, which then installed OK. When it takes ages, and I think it's used is needed by Twisted. So there you see Twisted, which Scrapy's built on top of the Twisted internet framework. So Twisted uses cryptography, and cryptography uses those other packages that you saw, LXML and so on. So once those were installed, I just typed Scrapy. It said no active project, and it was Scrapy 2.5 within the virtual environment. So I don't really care because I'm only really planning on running one scraper on this at the moment. And yeah. I went to the correct directory then, which Scrapy 19, which is where I've got my my cloned GitHub repo, and finally Scrapy crawl job spider. So job spider is my spider, which I want it to scrape every day. I want it to scrape Jubal for jobs with remote and Python in the title. And then it's going to write those to PostgreSQL. You can see I've got it set really very conservatively. Concurrent requests set to 1. Also throttle enabled. Download delay 3. So you could go a lot more aggressive on that. So I run it, and what did we get? We had, I think I may have cancelled that mid-flow actually. So that was me cancelling it. No, one more thing to install. So because it was virtual environment, I needed to go back and also then install Psycopg 2 to get the PostgreSQL database side of things up and running. Because in my code in pipelines.py, I'm using import Psycopg 2. And to do that, you just type, I wasn't concentrating and I just did that. You need to do pip install Psycopg 2. And I had some more of these dreaded red errors. They're really not things you want to be seeing when you're installing stuff. And again, it was doing this 2.2, 2-84, 83, 82, 81. When you see this, you just think, oh, I could be here for the rest of my life. So yeah, cancel that and then just start reading the errors and going back onto the Googler. And this just went on for ages. And this is why I'm making this video, because I wanted to show you while it was still on my screen. And yeah, loads and loads of this. It was really going back in time. Bear with. Right. Eventually, after some Googling, then I realized, or I read some of the errors, and it said something somewhere about installing libpqdev and Python 3-dev. So then I installed those. Usual messages, one installed, one upgraded. And done, successfully installed, processing triggers, and pip install yes, that was my problem. That was where I went wrong. I did pip install Psycopg 2, whereas you need to do pip install Psycopg 2-binary. So then you go and install that, and finally I had successfully installed Psycopg 2 binary, and then boom, Scrapy crawl job spider, Scrapy runs, and believe it or not, Scrapy gets all of these all of these URLs with pass, and then it goes down to pass details, and then each one of these is a job listing. And from the job listing, I'm extracting the text. And what I'm doing is I'm picking out, I'm not using Beautiful Soup anymore. If you saw in an earlier video, I was going to use Beautiful Soup just to get all of the text. But then I've just thought, well, actually I can just do it with an XPath and just //p/text. And yeah, it works, and it got 16 results on that. I'm crawling for the URL is formed so that it only gets jobs listed in the past 24 hours, which is exactly what I want. And to check it worked, I ran it a second time, and then I looked in. So now I'm command line in PostgreSQL, and then select items from, as you can see, I've been in and deleted some old listings. So we've got no rows there at the moment, and just so that I can demonstrate this, I'm going to run it from scratch now, and you can see it in progress. So it'd take a minute or so, and yeah, so this is all running in a virtual environment on the Pi, which I think may make it harder when I come to add that to cron, but I'm going to worry about that tomorrow. For today, I'm happy that it's actually working on the Pi, and it's scraping all of the paragraph text. So on any given page, whether it's Jubal or a third-party partner site, it doesn't matter. It's just going to get all of the paragraph text. And I had a bit of a problem also where I don't know if it was by default or if I'd set it. I can't remember, but the text field in PostgreSQL for the description, so text, not varchar. With varchar, you specify the length of the column. Text, you don't need to specify, but there is a 1 GB limit for the entire column. You say column, field, think of it, yeah. Anyway, let's go and look at select star from listings. So we had none just now. We've run this crawler, so we should see item script count, response count, 15 or 16. Let's see. And yeah, that's the other thing. I'll show you that. So we've 15 rows. There we go. And you're probably thinking, why is the ID? I don't know if you just saw that. Yeah, the ID 299298. It's because what I did was I just deleted all of the entries in the data in the table. I didn't drop the table, so it remembers all of the IDs that it's used. So if we do is it D plus listings. There we see, so within my listings table, next val listings underscore ID SQL. So it's sequential, and it's basically it remembers all of the ones that it's ever used. So it's going next val from what's already been used. And yeah, so posted is date, and I'm just getting that from. I'll just open up Visual Studio, and I'll show you the code again. Just it's on GitHub, Scrapy19. So yeah, posted, you just saw. So what you see in here is VS Code, which is the spider code. And let me just do Control B, get rid of that for you. And there we see, so we've got Scrapy's building a dictionary of description, URL, and posted. Posted, date time dot date dot today, and that's just import date time there, made that work. So parse detail, as I said, I'm not using Beautiful Soup anymore. Just do response and then everything that's a paragraph, and just get the text and then get all of it. Now when you do that, if you do get all from a response, you'll end up with a list, and you can't insert a list. You don't want to be inserting a list into when you yield your items. So what you do instead is you say variable equals, then you just do empty quotes join. So that's a standard join where you're converting a list into a string, and then all I'm saying there is limit the string to go up as far as, slice it up to 999. And I've actually, so this here matches these three, and ID is kind of auto-generated. So let me just show you, I'll just, before we wrap this up, I just want to show you PG admin. So I'm on the Pi, so I need to create a new tab, PG admin 4. I'll sort that error out another time, but for now, let's start up PG admin. And there we go, Pi information software solutions company @gmail.com. And if I come in here, what we're going to be doing is just looking at the same server that we've just seen, and we right click on there, query tool, and then we'll do select stuff from listings. Actually, you don't need that there, right? And there we go. So does that move? Just go. It's a bit sticky, isn't it? I don't need. This is actually running in Flask, believe it or not. I know. So yeah, it's when you install pgadmin, you'll see it's installing loads of Flask source. Right, so there we go. That's the 15 URLs that we've just scraped. And oh yeah, so if you look up here, 1,000 characters. So because that's got a 1,000 character limit on it, if you remember the code, if I'd not sliced the code to say description 99 slice up to 999, which earlier I didn't have that, and it kept failing, and I didn't know why, and I kept on thinking that it was the XPaths that were going wrong. And I can assure you it's not the, well, you can just see it's not the XPaths problem. It was the fact that the database was restricting, it was just basically saying you're passing me text that is more than 1,000 characters, so I'm not going to accept anything. Would have been nice if it had just accepted the first 1,000, but yeah, it didn't want to know. So there we go. There's a load of jobs from today. Now, as I've shown before, what I'm going to be doing is taking a look at. Well, I've already done it actually. I've shown, if we go to GitHub, I've already forked NLP in Python tutorial, and I've actually, it's about 2 years old. It was from 2018 PyCon. I don't know if you've ever seen PyCon 2018 NLP. Which one is that? Yeah, this one. And she did some really cool stuff analyzing 12 comedy shows. And yeah, it's a Jupyter Notebook bit, which I'm interested in. She made all these word clouds as well. So if you've seen that anywhere else, yeah, excuse the naughty words. Let's go past that, shall we? So sentiment analysis. And I'm not going to be doing sentiment analysis as such, but what I want to be doing is I want to be making word clouds of, let's close that. This is really an exercise in data cleaning. So as you can see, I've copied forked her code there, and I fixed something actually because, yeah, her selectors are kind of, as the site had changed, then her selectors weren't working anymore. So I've changed that. So if you follow that tutorial or that video and you copy the code, you clone it, then yeah, right at the start it will fall over, and you need to, let me zoom in on that. You need to update this line. Text equals soup, find underscore all. Again, paragraph 0, get underscore text. And also pickle. Pickle now is pickle 5. If you're not familiar with pickle, I'll show you what it does. So she's made all these, she's made loads of text files of the transcripts, and she's basically pickled the transcripts into a pickle object, which is a binary object which you just store, and then you can load back in later on. And you can also use pickle with, well, pickle gets used elsewhere in machine learning. So if you're interested in learning anything about machine learning, then pickle is probably something that you need to be learning about. And for anybody in the UK, yeah, 11 American comedians, I believe, and then yeah, Ricky Gervais. She does cleanups with regular expressions, re.sub, and basically she's removing some, what's she removing? Text in square brackets, punctuation, and words containing numbers. So yeah, they've got /d for digit. And she's using lambda, which is really amazing in pandas, because you don't have to do a for loop to loop through everything. If you run a lambda apply on a data frame, it just does the entire column just with one line, just doing apply. You don't need to do a for loop. So if you ever see any posts about doing a for loop in pandas, that will always be a bad way and a very slow way. And it'll be somebody who's probably not familiar with pandas, and they'll be applying their existing Python programming knowledge to pandas. But obviously pandas is like NumPy. You can just apply a filter or a lambda function just to an entire column. So yeah, that's that, and I've forked it and just got it working again. And as I say, it's a really good video. So it was PyOhio in 2018, and it's, apart from anything, it's just a good intro to machine learning and yeah, cleaning up data really. So there's nothing too too scary in it, but there we go. Look, web scraping. So requests, beautiful soup, and pickle. So if you're interested in any of those three things, then it's definitely worth a watch. So anyway, back to my code, and what were we talking about? We were talking about yeah, response, XPath, and the descriptions. So if you're writing anything using Scrapy, using pipelines, the pipelines don't really care what size, other than when you create the table. But as you see, description, when the code just creates that column text, it didn't specify 1,000 or anything. So so we've got Spider, we've got pipelines, and the other thing that I used here was items. So again, items is basically the standard Scrapy format. You open a template and it's already pretty much like this. You just add these three. So yeah, that's it. And next time you will see me with some more. I may actually just do get cronjob to just get the virtual environment, schedule cronjob to run this from within the virtual, run the spider from within the virtual environment, and I think that's probably going to be a bit of an ordeal, but we'll find out. And then once I've got probably several hundred results in here, then I'll start doing some of that data analysis, text analysis, and we'll do maybe bag of words and word2vec, and we'll try and make some sense of these job descriptions. And yeah, I hope this has been interesting. And so pgadmin, again, it's free. You can this is installed. This is actually installed on my main PC, but if you connect, you see, yeah, click on properties of this. I've actually set up a connection to my Raspberry Pi. So I didn't have to install pgadmin on the Pi. I installed pgadmin on the client, and yeah, off you go. So all you really need to do is just put in a name and then a connection, really. So just tell it the IP address of the database server, standard port, and then you use the name. That's the username that you would then use to log on to your Raspberry Pi with. And you can see imaginatively it's still saying Pi. So yeah, just to wrap up, what I've shown here is how to fix a few problems to get Scrapy running again on a Raspberry Pi after several months of not running Scrapy on a Raspberry Pi. So I think in the meantime I've upgraded to 3.9 Python, and Scrapy's gone up to 2.5. I've installed it. I've got it all working by using a virtual environment. I thought that was safer than messing about with, particularly editing path, capital PATH on the Pi. So yeah, thumbs up, comment, like, algos, all that. And what we've shown so far is we've crawled a job site and we've entered the results into a database, and next it will be some data analysis, EDA, exploratory data analysis. So